Welcome, shooters and collectors, to another edition of Side by Side. Today we're going to be taking a look at a rather unique firearm you really don't ever see in the United States, and that's the Beretta 98. This is I believe, a target or competition model, and you don't ever see these because the 98 was pretty much for the Italian market, where they have to use a 9x21 caliber instead of the 9x19 9mm Luger, and the reason why is civilians are not allowed to use the 9mm Luger in Italy, which seems really odd, I know, in the United States, because everything here is there's so much 9mm Luger, but that's actually considered a military round in Italy. So instead they came up with 9x21, which is the exact same overall dimensions, I believe. However, the case is just a little bit longer, and because of that, you can't get a 9x21 into a 9mm barrel. But don't let that bother you. If you ever come across one of these guns, you can easily swap out a 9x19 barrel and just swap it right into the 9x21, and everything's going to work just fine. The magazines are also, you won't even have to swap magazines. Or you can find 9mm Luger magazines. You can just use the 9x21s. They function just fine. So let's begin and take a closer look at this pistol. The first thing you may notice is, yes, it does have a compensator. It's a 2-port comp. It works really well, and there's a screw on here that holds it on, and then it just unscrews. So it's a very simple design, and it works quite well. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of the CZ75 Champion, but it's a little bit shorter, and there's no forcing cone on it either. So as you can see right there. Next thing we'll take a look at is the trigger. The trigger is actually a single action only trigger, which until recently was very uncommon. And what you have to remember is this gun was, I'm not sure the exact age of it, but it was manufactured either in the late 90s, early 2000s, and unless you owned a Beretta Combat, which is also, or a Beretta Steel one, which are both Italian guns, you would never come across a single action only Beretta. And until recently, with the 92X, the Performance X, and other pistols such as that, Beretta never just imported them into the United States. And I guess you could say this pistol here was sort of a precursor to what we are very fortunate to have now, but it took Beretta a long time, like 20 years, to get it here. So they're kind of slow in that respect. But as you can see, it has a really nice smooth trigger. There's a screw for over travel, and then there's a screw up in here for pre-travel as well, which is nice. And it's similar to the trigger that you can buy now for the Performance if you want to switch over to single action only from double action to single action. However, this one does not have a over travel screw, because the screw for over travel is actually in the frame, and there is no pre-travel screw either. So that bit has changed. And I'll show you how they did the single action only on this gun, as they did not use a screw that was in the frame. What they did is they added a little bit of metal here, which prevents the trigger from going back into the double action mode. So they extended the metal out right there a little bit. The trigger is incredibly smooth. There's the wall right there, and I'll just do that just so nobody's in the comments yelling at me. And there's the pre-travel there. That's the wall, and there's no creep. It just drops. So it's a great trigger. It's pretty light. I didn't bring the trigger gauge today, so I forgot to see what so I can measure it. But I think I'd say 3.5 pounds at the most. It's pretty light, and it's extremely crisp. I have to say that I actually like this trigger over this one here, even since it's got all the grooves and it's a little bit flatter. I don't know why, but I just do like this one a little bit more. The next thing you'll notice is the extended magazine release. I think Beretta's did have that option. I think Wilson made an extended magazine release. I don't know if Beretta ever offered one factory, but I think Wilson did have those, so you were able to get those back in the 90s, 2000s. And then this gun also has extremely aggressive checkering on it. And we'll take a look at that. You can see it's very fine. or it's pretty fine, I should say. It's not very fine. It's pretty darn fine, but if you got sweaty hands, oily hands, the gun's not going to slip at all. It's extremely grippy. And then another interesting thing that this gun has that shows that it was before its time, or at least before its time in the United States, is it has aluminum grips, and you just never saw a Beretta with aluminum grips back then either. Another interesting feature I'll show you now is the magazine and magwell that it has. And the magwell magazine for this pistol is a little bit different than the 92 because the magazine has this little extension on it right here, and I'll show that to you. And also you can see that it is marked for, if you can see that in the reflection, 9x21. It's a 9x21 magazine, but it has this little extension buffer right here, and bumper, I guess. It's got a bumper on it, and the bumper's screwed to the plate, and it gives a little extra length to it because you need that length for the magwell right here. And if you try to just use a regular 92 magazine, it won't fit. It won't lock in place. So if you did come across one of these, you may just want to get some extended magazines and use them, and that's what I've done in the past. Again, it has aggressive checkering right here. It has adjustable, I think, LPA sight, but this is my favorite feature of this gun. Oh, it does have ambidextrous safeties, kind of reminiscent of a CZ75 Tactical Sport. They really stick out. They got some big ears on them here, I guess. But and like I said, the most interesting feature on this pistol, I think, and the feature I love the most, is the slide racker. And I never have seen a slide racker on a 92, especially on a slide where initially it did have the safety. And I don't know if this is aftermarket or if it is actually Beretta installed this, but whoever did it did an excellent job. It fits flush to the gun, and this part here actually unscrews, so if you want to store it like in a case, you can do that. Or this gun also has a mount for a red dot here, and you don't want to unscrew the mount every time, so you could just unscrew this and get the slide off that way. Also, I forgot to mention this, there's a skeletonized hammer, which we haven't seen until recently as well for the Beretta, and I'm guessing this gun has been tuned because it just shoots so nice, and like the trigger breaks so clean, and it's a phenomenal pistol. And like I said, if you ever want to, if you are a Beretta 92 collector, you like vectors, maybe the Yamaha 87, I believe it is, pistols like that, I would definitely put this one on your list. And just like, don't be afraid if it's got a 9x21 barrel, because you actually can get ammo. I think it's about $35 a box, which I know it's like $20 more than regular 9mm, but you can do that, shoot it a few times, and then you can just swap out the barrel and get a 9x19. It'll drop right in, and you're good to go. So that's the great thing about it. And then I'll go ahead and show you the last thing here. I'll show you that trigger really quick, and then that'll be it. So like I said, this all comes off really easily. And then let's see if I can get the zoom in on this pretty good. Oops, sorry. Right there, you can sort of see that trigger work where they added the extra metal a little bit right in there. And that's how they block it from going back into a double action mode. They actually just added some metal to it. And that's my review. I hope you like it. Like I said, put this in your search, maybe on Gunbroker or so, and if you come across one, just don't be afraid of it. If it's a 98, just put a regular old 92 barrel in it, and you're good to go. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.